Alright guys, so I've been going over all these, and hopefully you guys can see kind of where it's going by now, having listened to, or if you have listened to my previous podcasts and a couple of the bonus episodes. Hopefully you can kind of see where this is going. Hopefully you can tell the archetypical progression that we're going through here. And so this next one here it's pretty wild. It's the thing is these get to a point where, I mean, if the stuff wasn't already unbelievable, they become a point where they're absolutely, completely unbelievable. It just sounds so crazy. I mean, they already sound crazy. Of course, you know, you're leaving your body, you're flying around space, you know, on the mushrooms, and so you're going through all these things. But the thing is what I had been doing throughout all these trips is I was building something up, you know. I was trying to get to a certain place. I was trying to get to a certain result and everything, and it took, you know, a little bit of trial and error to figure out where we were going. It took me grounding myself and realizing where I was at when I was tripping, and the things that facilitated the trip appropriately. One of them being, you know, like the trip room, the trip ceremony, you know, the girlfriend being with me, and me and her both making it to the, you know, the spirit realm together and feeling the same things. And so, you know, the loops were important because the loops adjusted the way that I thought about what I was trying to create, you know, with the loops, because the concept is that when you're caught in the loops, you feel like you're stuck there. You feel like you're stuck there forever. And so the thought occurs to you that, oh, if I'm stuck here forever in this moment in time, this could either be my heaven or my hell, you know. And so, and the first times, you know, I was thinking it was possibly my hell. And so then I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my heaven instead. And that's not exactly what happened on this next trip, but here we go. Let's get into the next trip anyways. So this was the first time that I took the coast, the Malabar coast, at 5 grams. I had taken them like one other time before that at only 3.5 grams, just to kind of like test them out, because I wanted to see what they were like. So this is the time I took them at 5 grams. Now the girlfriend also took the Malabar coasts, and I think I must have only given her 2.5. That's usually what I give her. I very rarely do I give her more than that. I think only once or twice have I given her 3 grams. I think the majority of the times I end up giving her 2.5 grams. You know, she seems to be able to get to a much higher place with a lot less than I need. Well, I'm a lot bigger than her as well too, but of course. But anyways, so where I need 5 grams to get there, she usually just needs 2.5 or 3 to get there, and especially with something like Malabar coasts. So the thing about Malabar coasts is these they're incredibly visual. They hit like a ton of bricks. Like as soon as you take them, within 15 minutes, as long as you have an empty stomach, within 15 minutes, I mean, you're getting visual, like open-eyed visual hallucinations. Like it's incredibly powerful, the Malabar coasts. Very, very strong. A lot of people talk about penis envy being a strain that's really, really strong. Based on what I've heard, now I haven't taken penis envy, but based on what I've heard, I believe Malabar coasts might be stronger than penis envy, but who knows? Anyways, So this is the first time I took the 5 grams of the Malabar, and the girl took 2.5. And in this case, we were not in the trip room. We were actually in my bedroom. And so we were sitting in the bedroom, and as they came on fast and in a hurry. At first I was laying on the bed, and I was starting to see the visuals, I was starting to see the colors, I was starting to see patterns and stuff, the geometrical patterns and whatnot, and they were pretty good. But since the Malabars hit so hard and quick, I felt like I had to like stand up, and I had to like walk around the room kind of. I believe actually I was like kind of like stumbling and falling off the bed and that kind of stuff, and so at this point at that point in time, I had moved, I had gotten off the bed, and I was standing up in the corner. A couple things that ended up happening is I have these kind of like white, they're kind of like white tannish colored curtains that block out the window. They turned into ice cream. That's the only way I can say it. They turned into ice cream. They became super smooth, and they looked like they were melting, like but it looked very delicious. It looked like ice cream. Also, I have blue walls, these light baby blue walls, and they ended up becoming like super smooth. They almost looked like still water, like just really like smooth and calm and peaceful, almost like glass, but they didn't reflect as much as glass would have. Just and more appropriate to say it looked like still, calm water or something like that. I also have a giant tapestry in my bedroom that hangs over my bed, and it's a picture of a forest, and there's a waterfall, and you're looking out from behind the waterfall to look at the forest. And I was looking at that, and the picture almost completely melted away. It was just a mesh of like just greens where the trees were at, and then the waterfall itself was just this white just blur in front of it all. So everything was really looking crazy. The colors that I get on the Malabar coats are just cranked up to 11. I tell you guys about the tiger blanket a lot, and I had the tiger blanket with me, of course, this time as well. And it has, around the tiger, there's like some green leaves and stuff like that. And when you're not tripping, those green leaves are kind of a dull green. They're kind of a very light, dull green, like a minty type green. But when you're on the Malabar coast, the green just pops. It becomes so bright and foresty looking, and just like this dark green. I have these. My closet doors are these redwood doors, and it's kind of, they have the wood pattern throughout them, and the pattern is it's different on each little panel. There's like 4 panels to this door, and so I remember looking at that, and the color of the red is like popping out and coming out very, very strong, and the patterns were moving, and it looked like the whole door was just dancing around. Like, that's how strong these Malabar coasts are. And then I have a dresser that's made of redwood as well, and the red on that popped out and became just this bright colored red. So the Malabars are like super fun, because like the visuals that you get on them are just so good, just so good, so bright, and like I said, open-eyed visuals. So anyways, so I'm starting to get the open-eyed, I got all the colors already and everything like that, and here's what happens. Let's see. I've also got a dream catcher that's hanging up, and I kept remember looking at that, and I remember the dream catcher kept growing and shrinking in size, and I thought that was really cool. But anyway, so I stood up at the corner of the room, kind of the corner of the bed, with that corner of the room at my back, and the door was closed. The door leading out into the hallway, that was closed, and so I'm standing here, and I'm about, I don't know, maybe 4 feet from the corner of the room, and kind of close to the corner of the edge of the bed. And as I'm looking forward, the whole room starts to warp into basically like a fishbowl. It becomes super like circular in shape. It becomes, well, like a fishbowl. And I could see, like, it was very, very strange, but my peripheral vision had somehow extended out beyond what I could normally see, and I could almost see directly behind me as well. So it's like I could see the entire room, the ceiling, the floor, just everything around the bed. The girlfriend's sitting on the bed, and she's just watching me. She's enjoying watching me, and she's smiling and everything, and I'm telling her everything that's happening. And as I'm watching it all happen, this room turning into a fishbowl. And so anyways, let's take a quick break here, do a quick sponsor, and then I'll get right back with you guys. Just a second. Hey guys, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about the app I use to make this podcast that you're listening to. It's a free app. It's called Anchor. When I started creating my podcast, I never thought that I would get as many plays as I've been getting. One of the coolest things that Anchor does is it actually distributes your podcast for you. So the podcast can be heard on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. Anchor has a bunch of creation tools, so you can record and edit right from your phone. You can also download the program on your computer. It's everything that you need to make a podcast all in like one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So anyway, so the room was warping and turning into a giant fishbowl, and I was able to see throughout the entire room. And I'm not really sure how I got on the other side of the bed. It's kind of a little bit of a mystery to me. Somehow I found myself on the other side of the bed, and I was talking with the girlfriend. She's laying in bed, and she's basically not moving, but she's talking to me. And at this point in time, I realize I'm back to being my true self, right? So one of the things that happens to me on the mushrooms is I'm no longer limited by, my brain, my soul being separate from my body and everything. My soul just has the ability to think on its own, independently of the brain. And that, for some reason, that thing is more, I don't know, it's able to think better. I can think way more clearly and stronger when I'm, for some reason, in that state. And so for some reason, and I think linearly too. So it's not just this isn't just an illusionary perception where I think that I'm thinking better. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a perception thing. I'm actually literally thinking better. Like, I'm not going off on tangents. My brain isn't scattered. I'm not. I don't have any duality or anything like that, or anything where I'm like arguing with myself. No. Instead, what I'm doing when I'm on the mushrooms and I'm in that state, and like I said, it took me a while to get up to that state. If you guys have, listening to the podcast, it took a while to get to that state. But once you're in that state, now it's so God, I'm the words, I'm running out of words how to describe it. It's so pure. Like, thought is so pure and straight and in a line. And so think about this. Think about when you argue with yourself. Like, ask yourself a question in your head. Say, like, the example is like you'd ask yourself, how far away is the sun? You know, and when you answer yourself back, who asked the question and who answered? You know, so you have, you know, there's something there. There's a you that's talking, and then there's a you that's answering back. You know, and maybe it is the same you, but it's the thought is split. So instead, what happens when you get to that state, when you become your true self on the mushrooms, or when you enter the spirit realm, or however you want to say it, it's basically your conscious. Some people would say your consciousness is free. That's what it is. If you want a more scientific term, if you want to go a little less religious, let's go a little more scientific. They'd say your consciousness is now free, and your consciousness is now elevated, so that way it can think in a linear, straight pattern without having to ask itself questions. So, anyway, so that's what happens, and that's what happened to me here on this trip, right about that time. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, and when I'm thinking in that mode, I start to think about things like God, right? And you sit there and you start contemplating like what God is, who He is, how He works, how He operates, and you're thinking. And it's funny, I don't even think of it from like a theological perspective. Like I use a little bit of what I know from the Bible, but there's a lot of other philosophical just truths that I start to use. You know, it's like, okay, so what does the word omnipotent mean? Or what does the word omnipresent mean? You know, what does the word all-knowing, or, you know, all-knowing, what does that mean? You know, and so you start using these to formulate your ideas. And since you're on the mushrooms and you can think so freely, you can start to imagine God as way, way bigger than anybody else thinks it. Even like fundamental conservative Christians, they think that God is somehow this, like, I don't know, a lot of people like to say he's an old man up in the clouds, you know, floating on the clouds. A lot of people like to limit it. And so one of the things I like to do when I'm on the mushrooms is, instead of limiting it, I like to expand it. It's like, think about like how big the universe is, you know? Think about how many stars and galaxies there are. And it's like, if you look into it in any, you know, I mean, just even minorly look into it, like the Hubble telescope looking into like a black space, you know, in the sky, and it zooms way, way in, and it turns out there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of galaxies out there, you know. So that's quite incredible to think about. And so when you sit there and you think about how big the universe is, yeah, and then, you know, and then also how small things get, like, you know, I mean, you get down to the atoms inside like a human being, you know, and so you're looking at the scale, how big the scale is, and it really kind of changes your mind about what God could possibly be, you know. So anyways, so at this point in time, I'm talking to my girlfriend about these ideas I'm having about God, and slowly the presence there's a presence that enters the room. It's like, it's not like a normal entity, because I've felt entities on the mushrooms before, and when the entities enter the room, they're usually small in scope or nature, and they usually have one aspect to them or something like that, you know. You know, they seem like they're about the size of you, maybe a little bigger. They don't really seem like, they don't fill up the room or anything like that. Well, in this case, this presence that entered the room did fill up the whole room. This presence was huge, and it was powerful, but at the same time it was incredibly peaceful, so peaceful, and just like the whole like room was just filled with this overwhelming amount of peace. You know, that's the best word. I think I don't want to use the word love. And here's one thing, and I was talking to some people about this on the forums on the Quentin experiment there. I was talking to them about people misuse the word love, okay? People think it means something like making people feel good or something like that. And it's like, no, true love has nothing to do with whether or not you feel good or you don't feel good. True love would be something more along the lines of strengthening somebody by telling them the truth and by getting them to act out and live their lives in a truthful manner. That's like true love or something like that. So anyway, so I don't like to use the word love. So when I feel this presence that enters the room, the best word to describe it, I would say, is it's an ultimate peace that you feel. So anyways, when I felt it enter the room, my girlfriend also felt it enter the room. So it was crazy. I pretty much collapsed on the floor. I was like down on my knees. My face was like on the floor and everything like that. And I was crying. And the girlfriend had gone blank-faced. And this is what happened. So I went down. I'm laying on the ground, and the presence kind of eventually slowly fades away. And so I get up onto the bed to look at the girlfriend to make sure she's okay and everything like that. And she is just blank. There's nothing there at all. Her face is just, her eyes are just staring off in the distance. Her face is not moving at all. She's still breathing and everything. She's definitely still alive. But I kind of like wave my hand in front of her face to see if she sees anything. There's no reaction at all. No reaction at all. Her eyes don't dilate or constrict at all based on the movement of my hands. There's nothing. She's just absolutely just straight out of her body. And I'll let her tell you where she went, but needless to say, she was not in the room anymore. So she had a complete out-of-body experience at that point in time. And so she has the out-of-body experience. And I was a little worried, to tell you the truth. I was like, I sit there and I said to myself, I was saying her name. I was like, hey, are you there? Are you okay? And everything like that, and nothing. And I knew she was still alive. Once again, I could see her breathing and everything, and she had good color in her face and whatnot, and so I knew she was still alive. But the thing is I was like, oh shit. And I actually said this out loud. I said, oh shit, I broke her brain. That's what I thought I did. I thought I had broken her brain. I thought it was done. I was like, crap. I had a lot of worry. I was a little concerned for her. And then finally she looked over at me. Finally, after just a minute, of me trying to get her attention, shaking her shoulder a little bit, she looks over at me and her eyes are just wide as can be. And she's looking at me and she sits there and she said, something happened. And I said, damn right something happened. I sit there and I was like, yep, something happened. That's for sure. And man, it was her mind was then kind of this is what happens when that presence comes through the room. I'll talk about that more in later trips because it starts coming more frequently. But when you feel that presence in the room, what happens afterwards is your mind is kind of like being sloshed around. It's like you're caught up in like a wake or something like that. Your brain kind of bounces to and fro, and it kind of goes to extremes. They're not good. They're kind of bad extremes because it's just what's ever in your mind. It's like your soul's trying to reconnect to your body, and it's trying to reconnect to your mind, and so just whatever it's coming across first is just what's popping out, you know what I mean? So, if you got bad thoughts or bad habits in your mind, some of them, come up a little quicker than others. So anyways, it was was a little hard to get her. She got up, she got out of the bed, she walked around, we walked into the kitchen, you know, we had to kind of like talk about what had happened and everything, and slowly we just came down, and the trip ended. So, yeah, so that was a very interesting one. Now, see, at this point in time, the presence, I don't know if I was completely convinced that it was God. It could have been just a really, really strong presence. And so later on, though, I have more trips where the presence comes back, and it's a lot stronger in subsequent trips. So let's see how long we are into this one. So, okay, so we have time to go into the next one, and I'm just going to continue along here because, like I said, we got to get through all these, you know, so we can get into the next part. So, I thought that trip right there that I just explained, I thought it was a divine trip. I was like, holy crap, this is it. This is what the mushrooms do. They connect you to the third realm, and then you can have an encounter with the divine. And so that's what I thought. Now, here comes my mistake. And this is a big learning experience right here. So on the very next trip, I had remembered all this, all that had just happened on that last trip. I had remembered all of it. And I thought I was automatically going to get the same experience. I took the same amount, and I took it in the same manner, so to speak, or whatever. We were even back in the room again. I was tripping in the room again, and the girl this time, she was not tripping with me, but she was just watching me. And I'm laying in bed. I'm getting ready for. I take the mushrooms. I'm laying in bed. I'm getting ready for it to start, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be so awesome. It's gonna be just like last time. And I close my eyes and I start seeing visuals, and the visuals are there, but they're kind of light. You know, they're there, but for some reason there's not any like power to them or anything like that. It seemed very like normal, and they didn't seem like they were trying to show me anything specific. It just kind of seemed like I was just high, and that's what I was. I was sufficiently high, like I could feel it, like I was on the mushrooms. I even got up and I sit there and I said to the girlfriend, it's, you know, I'm super high, but I'm not having a spiritual experience. You know, the spiritual experience is not here. I said, what's the difference? What was the matter here? And I sit there because I had taken 5 grams and I knew what 5 grams felt like. So I knew that I was high, and I knew that the 5 grams had worked, and that it was an appropriate dosage, you know, and that I was that sufficiently high, you know. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, you know. But the spiritual experience wasn't there. For some reason, the spiritual experience was lacking. I wasn't feeling the presence of anything. I wasn't feeling like you know, like there were any entities around. I wasn't feeling any of them. Nothing. It was just me, just high on mushrooms. And like I said, this is a very, very valuable lesson. And I think it had something to do with the fact that I didn't take the experience seriously. I almost think that the one that I described here at the beginning of this podcast, I think that one might have almost been a fluke, or it wasn't for me, it was for the girlfriend, because she had the out-of-body experience, I didn't, you know. And so maybe the trip came, and it came because of her, and maybe the reasons that she took it seriously or whatever, or the way that she felt about it, you know, and or maybe it was a part of me also in the way I was thinking as well. But the point is, is there was a difference. I had an incredible divine experience, spiritual experience, and then the next trip, nothing. I was just simply high. And I racked my brain around that for a little bit. I think I actually took a break between that one and the time that we got to the next one. I think I took like a good month break of sitting there and thinking. I actually thought that maybe it was over. Like maybe I had run my course of the archetypical stuff, and that's all the mushrooms had to show me, and then therefore from now on I would never see anything more again. And I just briefly had that thought. It wasn't a major thought. It was just, it was very disappointing, to say the least. It was very discouraging. It was one of those things where it brought me back down to, it grounded me again, It brought me back down and humbled me. Because when I had that divine experience, I don't want to say I had a big head or something, but I did feel some tinge that I was somehow special or something because I had achieved that, And I didn't have the appropriate thinking about it, saying that, that it wasn't, that other people can experience this too. I sit there and I wasn't thinking in that manner. And I also wasn't thinking in the fact that, I need to be spreading this message that this is what these things do, and since I wasn't spreading it or anything like that, and I was thinking somehow I was special or something like that, and that other people, I'm not saying I thought these things strongly or something, but it's some of the reasoning I had behind, well, maybe this is why I didn't have a spiritual experience. And so, like I said, it was very, very disappointing, and I had to rack my brain for, like I said, almost a month before I could, take the mushrooms again. Had a nice, that was probably the biggest break I'd had in a while on the mushrooms, taking a good, at least a month long. It might have even been longer than that, but taking a big, long break, self-reflection, trying to remember, all these crazy cool ones that we had. And another part of this is, and we'll get to this a little bit later, I had mentioned there were several trips in between the trips that I've been telling you. I was having other trips, but that I didn't remember a lot of them. That's going to become important later on basically the last couple podcasts that we do when going through these archetypical, trips. So I hope you guys can see where we're all at with all this, and you can see where it's all going. Well, let me just lay it out then again to once again confirm how this is all archetypical. Right, the first few trips I'm having fun. It's a call to adventure. It's me realizing that there's something else out there. And then you sit there and then you start entering into that new world. So you have the call to adventure, then you travel to that new world, and that was when I had my little, space journeys, the early ones that were just kind of nice, looking around. And then I run into my first major obstacle, which is, the abyss and the hellish trips. I run into my first obstacles, and I quickly realized that, this place isn't just all sunshine and rainbows, but there's, things I have to watch out for. So then I learn how to deal with those things, and then how to get myself back into a better spot and continue to go up in the tree. And that's when I had my space trips with the girlfriend and then my sister. Then I start learning how to really use what I'm doing to create something, and that's where I have the loops, and then I'm having my loops, and I'm trying to learn how to do something special here with these. I'm trying to learn what I've got, where I'm at, and get myself in there. And so then, and then just now we had our divine encounter, followed quickly by, a disappointment, a realization that, these things are here and everything, but I have to play the game right. I have to do things the right way, and I have to have the right mindset and the right location, the right place in order to get to the good stuff. So anyways, so I hope that all makes sense. I hope you can see the archetypical themes going through here. You can call it like the hero's journey or something like that. But it just keeps going, which is the crazy part. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4. Well, and then I have 5, 6. So we only have 6 left. 6 major trips left for me to go over, and who knows where it'll go from here. I mean, just Jesus criminy. Like I said, from here, I mean, I've already said this many times, but every single one is just more and more extreme, and they go and they get bigger, and the trips get stronger, and yeah. So anyways, thanks all listening. God, I'm so happy with how the podcast is turning out, with how many people are listening, and people are listening to the episodes all the way through. I find that absolutely fascinating. I've got there's one episode I've got that's got a good decent amount of views, and I looked at the statistics on it, and every single person that listened to that one listened to it 100% through, and I was just like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the majority of them have 50% of people make it all the way through, which is incredible. So anybody that's listening to this right now, just goddamn, man, thank you so much. I can't even believe that anybody listened to all this. So anyways, if you guys want to catch me on I'm on that Discord on the Quentin Experiment. If you guys know the Quentin Experiment on YouTube, he's a big psychedelic advocate, and he's got a Discord channel, and I hang out on there pretty much all day. So I got one of my trip reports up on there, my last one recently, and then also I'm just talking to people, helping people with mycology and whatever else they're doing. So if you guys want to stop on by, try to find me on there. And then thanks very much, guys. So have a good night.